Hello ladies and gentlemen, Nick here, and welcome to my review of Dracula 2020 Miniseries Episode 2, Blood Vessel. This episode moves from Transylvania to a ship heading to England, transporting goods and passengers. And we've got quite a bunch of characters for this story. We've got, well, as well as the Count, Dracula, and Agatha Van Helsing. We've also got a captain played by Jonathan Aries, a steward boy, a couple of other crew members, and a couple of passengers, including Sacha Dhawan as a Indian doctor. Note, he plays a completely different character to the one he plays in Doctor Who. Would have been quite a surprise for audiences, surprise or good thing for audiences to see him here, after seeing him in Doctor Who Spyfall Part 1 the day before, if they watched Dracula Episode 2 on the broadcast date. For me, I caught up on record for all 3 episodes. So, Dracula Syria 2020 miniseries Episode 2. Story is basically a murder mystery, in a way, as Dracula kills many of the victims on the ship when he is travelling on as a guest, because, as he says, you don't expect him to be in a coffin for 4 weeks or something. So he travels as a guest, and throughout the first week, he starts killing off quite a few victims, and it becomes a bit of a murder mystery, but one where you know who the killer really is. But unlike some other murder mysteries where you know who that is, when sometimes they don't really give you the suspense, with Dracula, it is a bit suspenseful because he can strike any moment, anybody. He's not random. He chooses his victims very carefully. So, I mean, yeah, so would murderers, possibly, unless it was a serial killer. Even then, they choose their victims carefully. But with Dracula, you know the stakes, whilst other ones, you're not quite sure just yet. But with Dracula in particular, he's got this uncontrollable desire, which raises the tension even more. Now, he does say not to get too attached to any of these supporting characters earlier on in the story, when talking to Agatha, sort of this dream thing she's having whilst on the ship, because he's making her last as he's drinking her blood. He lets Mina go, and in episode 3 we find out why. But he's saving Agatha and enjoying it, so she's on the ship as a sick passenger, additional sick passenger, and in her head she's kind of going through the story until about 45 to 60 minutes in, and then plays a bit more of an active role. And like I said, Dracula says do not get attached to any of the supporting characters besides them. Sorry about the noise outside, but to be honest, I can't help getting invested in some of these characters. Sacha Dhawan's character, the cabin boy, and Jonathan Aries' characters, they're all really great. I liked them. Got quite invested in those characters. There was this one guy I wasn't so keen on. He was one of the ship people, but wasn't so keen on him. I actually wanted him to die, but he and quite a lot of the crew jumped ship, so they just abandoned ship. Sacha Dhawan's character and his daughter sadly do die, but not from Dracula. The daughter kills herself to avoid being killed by Dracula or by this English lord who's starting to, after Dracula is revealed as a vampire, he's starting to see, oh, maybe he brought me here so I could join him as his business partner, and they're threatening to kill Dhawan's character's daughter, and she just takes upon herself to kill herself, and then the English lord kills Dhawan's, which is shame, disappoints Dracula, and then Dracula takes the lord for himself because he wanted the wife, naturally. Wanted to drink the wife's blood, and he drinks quite a couple of crew members' bloods and throws the bodies overboard, leaving only a few people still on board towards the end, before the cabin boy and this other kitchen person have to jump ship, and the captain and Agatha blow up the ship with Dracula on. So actually a really good episode with lots of really good stuff going on, with the suspense of who Dracula is going to kill next and when he's going to be ticked off, and who's in cabin 9, which turned out to be Agatha. I actually was thinking it could be Mina, but it turned out to be Agatha, and it's really, really good, and some really great stuff, and some pretty cool horror moments that I think topped the first episode in the horror moments, and some very good moments. I think there's less CGI in this story, but in this episode, than the previous or the following ones. But I think they work it in just as well. Same for the practical effects. I think this one might have been the easiest one to make out in that respect. But yeah, I think it's also the best paced episode of the series. Whilst episode 1 I thought was a bit of a slow drag, this one felt like it was going a bit faster. The first half hour was not as slow or dull, and by the time we got to 45 to 60 minutes in, it was actually doing very well. The final act does go on a little bit too long, but I can forgive it. I think it's a good final act anyway. And I think this is a good episode. I think episode 3 is a little faster paced, to be honest, which maybe that one's the better paced episode, because that one was about 45 minutes before I realised, this far, as opposed to near half an hour, with the other two. But I thought this one was a really well-paced episode, at least for the first hour. And I thought, it was a good episode. Very good episode. On the whole, episode 2 of Dracula 2020 is probably my favourite episode for all these reasons. It's not 10 out of 10, but it's still really strong. I think if it was a bit faster paced, it might be 10 out of 10. But I still think it's a very strong episode in this miniseries. So I'll be giving the 2020 Dracula miniseries episode 2, Blood Vessel, a 9 out of 10. This is the strongest episode for that. However, episode 3 is actually a pretty interesting episode in itself, as it takes the whole story on a completely different level. As it turns out, Dracula sleeps for 123 years in the water and arrives in Whitby in 2020. So we've got Dracula set in 1897, and then in the final minutes of this episode and in the last episode, we've got him set in the present day. I mean, actually, I was like, what? When it ended, but episode 3 actually is really good. So stay tuned for my review of episode 3, and the thumbs up is because episode 3 is so good, as opposed to the idea of it, because it is a strange, bizarre idea, but because episode 3 is actually really good, it gets the thumbs up. Works the best of both worlds in. Original setting date and present day setting. And I think it works in better than the Sherlock 2016 special, The Abominable Bride, in that respect, working the two timelines in. Stay tuned till next time for my review of the third and final episode of this mini-series, The Dark Compass. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye. Don't forget to click below to subscribe to the official Nicholas Payne Retro YouTube channel. Hello ladies and gentlemen, Nick here, and welcome to my review of Dracula series 2020 miniseries episode 2. Sorry. Cut that a bit. Will you go away? So I'm going to give Dracula 2020 Episode 2 a 9 out of 10. And I think it actually works better than Abominable Bride with Sherlock's 2020. And I think it works. But anyway, stay tuned for my review of Dracula 2020 Episode 3. And I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye. So I'll be giving Blood Vessel. So I'll be giving Dracula 2020 Episode 2 a... No. So I'll be giving the Dracula...